The federal government is buying existing condo units to house low-income tenants, and it says doing so costs less than building new affordable housing from scratch. That single policy decision puts you, if you own a unit in the same building, in a position you never agreed to when you signed your mortgage. The question is not whether the policy is good or bad. The question is what it actually does to your asset. The government's core argument is straightforward: acquiring units in existing buildings is cheaper per door than commissioning new low-income housing construction. On a spreadsheet, that argument holds. Construction costs across Canada have surged over the past 4 years, making new builds expensive for any buyer, public or private. So the government turns to the resale market instead. When a government agency becomes the owner of units in your condo building, the tenant profile changes without a vote from the rest of the owners. Condo corporations are governed by rules around ownership and use, but a government buyer can potentially operate outside the norms a private investor would face. That shift in tenant mix is one of the first things a prospective buyer's realtor will flag when they pull the building's ownership data. Resale value in a condo building is tied to perception as much as bricks and mortar. Buyers and their mortgage lenders look at the ownership composition of a building. A higher concentration of non-market or subsidized units can raise flags for lenders assessing risk, which in some cases tightens the financing options available to future buyers. Tighter financing means a smaller pool of qualified purchasers, and a smaller buyer pool tends to soften prices. Government-owned units still contribute to condo fees, but the dynamics around maintenance standards and special assessments can shift when a large institutional owner holds multiple units in the same building. If the character or upkeep of common areas declines, the cost of addressing it falls on all owners equally through the condo corporation. That is a slow, unglamorous risk, but it is a real one. It is worth being precise here. Not every building will see government acquisition, and in larger urban towers with hundreds of units, a handful of government-owned doors may have a negligible effect on resale values. The risk is more concentrated in smaller buildings, or in cases where the government acquires a significant share of a single property. The headline risk and the actual risk for most owners are not the same number. If you own a condo or are considering buying one, the practical step is to request the building's status certificate and review its ownership breakdown before committing. Watch for federal housing announcements that name specific buildings or postal codes. The policy itself is unlikely to reverse, so the due diligence shifts to the buyer. For the broader picture on what rising government intervention in housing means for Canadian mortgage markets, the next video on federal housing policy is the logical next watch. If this kind of ground-level analysis is useful to you, subscribing keeps it in your feed.